it has everything that I wished an MK had. Like when MKDC was out, I was like, dude, they better make MK9 like this. Like, I want, the Toasty back in. I want these characters back in. And they basically did what I wanted. Like, they did everything, and I was just like, oh my God, like, this is the best game. And, when MK10 comes out, they're obviously not going to have every character that's in here. They're not gonna have probably the Toasty or anything. So I'm just like, oh, like, this is the game for me. This is the one that it's just really awesome, and I want them to keep working on this. And they could make a better job. One thing I really don't like is the negative edge in this game. Like, they don't need it. It's not needed. There's no reason for it. Like, they should take it out. And that's another thing I didn't post on Test Your Might. On my Twitter, and Storms put it on Test Your Might, but that's one thing I didn't post, the negative edge, and that's one thing I would really like to see be taken out, because it just sucks. And
I think the worst thing is that input bug.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing about this game, because you have no control over it. It's totally whacked out.
It's a driver glitch, I think. That's what Brady said.
Yeah, that sucks. That's like I agree. I don't think when MK10 comes out, I already know I'm probably not gonna like it as much as this game. Because this game has done everything perfect besides that input.
Yeah, this game is like so perfect.
MK10 is going to come out with something new and something different, and it's going to fucking throw everything off.
That's one thing MK always did. They either made a game that wasn't that great, or they made a really great game, but there was just something about it. Like, they're probably going to make MK10, hype it up so much where you're like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Like, oh, I'm going to love it so much. But then you're going to find out, like, a couple months before it comes out, oh, it's going to be on the PlayStation Move, where you're just going to move with it. You're not going to use the controller. And then you're like, no, explain this to me. Like, for some reason, MK, they always liked doing something where you're like, no, like, why are you doing that? Just,
I'm optimistic. I think MK10 is going to be better than this.
Well,
I don't see how they can outdo this.
Kitana's dead, though.
Well, she'll be a zombie and has zombie powers. But first off, I think they wanted this to be a tournament-worthy game, but they didn't have as much time as they would have wanted. It seems like they only brought in the testers at the last minute. And I think they'll do an even better job at balance this time. I think they'd be smart.
I mean, I'm not concerned about balance. I'm concerned about the engine, and like they're gonna introduce some new meter.
I don't want something new, because the meter in this game and everything about this game is perfect. They just gotta fix a little bit of stuff.
But the thing
is great. But I don't want them.
Now they know what works, and they have a better idea of what to do.
Yeah, that is true. Like, this was their first big tournament game.
Right.
But that's why it would just be Ultimate Mortal Kombat 9. Like, if they're doing Mortal Kombat 10, there's got to be drastic changes.
Yeah.
Like, it'll go 3D again or something stupid.
I don't think so. I think they're too smart for that.
I mean, they're not going to make it the same, and I like the way it is right now. I like it how it is, and there has to be something different about it. And I hope that thing that's different, I hope it's for the better. I don't want to see, like, oh, it's back in 3D, but don't worry, we fixed it. Or, like, I don't want that. I want it to be 2D. I want all the things that make it a good competitive game. I want to see it in there. And what I'm afraid of right now is seeing something that, it shouldn't be in there, that MK9 had,
A little bit of breaking news. It says here on Test Your Might, NRS is looking to make the next Killer Instinct game.
Yes.
I'm serious. Well, it's a rumor. It's a rumor.
It's a rumor from someone who I've never even heard of.
But dude,
well, I mean, Killer Instinct.
But it's from someone from NetherRealm.
It says a source, and it's some place I've never even heard of.
That would be awesome, though. Like, I love Killer Instinct. I think there should be out of anything. What game reminds you of Mortal Kombat? Killer Instinct. It had the fatalities, the brutalities. It had everything Mortal Kombat had. It was basically, honestly, it was basically a copy of Mortal Kombat. But that game was so badass, I never seen it as a copy. I seen it as its own game, and I loved it. And I think there should be, out of any game, there should be a Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct. It would just they just complement each other so well. Like
Glacius versus Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
Scorpion versus
Scorpion. I mean, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be epic.
That
But,
would
What
definitely
about
happen.
Mortal Kombat versus Rise of the Robots?
What?
What?
Think
The
about
loader
it.
versus Cyrax?
No, it'd be the loader versus Jax.
Why?
Because he's a cyborg.
Wow.
The
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 supervisor.
loader is just a straight up robot.
Alright, yeah, you're right. Alright. Supervisor versus, like, Kabal.
Supervisor.
Supervisor.
That's his name?
Yeah, that's her. They all were just named after what they did.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was loader and like, what was the gorilla one's name?
Coffee
Can't
maker.
remember.
What about Primal Rage?
Oh,
Primal
I
Rage
love
versus
that
Mortal
game.
Kombat, like, they could just step on the Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
Vertigo.
No, but just
Get
a
Vertigo
new
in.
Primal Rage, like in its own, like that would
Yeah.
It could be like Animality, like from the movie. You could turn into like Liu Kang could turn into his dragon.
Alright, Striker would
Fight
be really good
Diablo.
with Primal Rage. Mortal Kombat versus Way of the Warrior.
That game sucked.
Mortal Kombat versus Shaq Fu.
You
oh my god.
remember that fatality where that ape like peed on him and they melted?
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, I remember
was
that.
Awesome, dude.
That's how it got banned, isn't it? Primal Rage.
No.
That was
Didn't it get
censored.
banned because of that fatality where like Blizzard pissed on someone and they melted?
Walmart was not caring.
The first time I played Primal Rage, do you guys remember for the Sega you can like pay like monthly and you can get like a shit ton of games on your
The Sega channel.
Yeah, Sega Channel. That was awesome.
Dude, that was crazy and you just play like all the games. That was the first time I played Primal Rage. I was just looking through the games and I was like, I'll play this, and that thing was awesome though. I was just like, holy shit, this is so cool.
It had demos and like,
Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat 3 was in 2 parts.
yeah, with certain characters.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
It was cool though for the time.
How about
Yeah,
Mortal
yeah.
Kombat versus Clay Fighter?
Dude, okay, I'm gonna get into Clay Fighters. That is one of my favorite fighting games, because I like not the original Clay Fighter, but the Clay Fighter 63 and a third, just because you had like 400 hit, brutality.
Yes. And I loved how the announcer had ridiculous names. Like,
Yeah, they just made that game so ridiculous. It was crazy. Like, and I think they should make a modern game like that where it's kind of like making fun of fighting games right now, but they just make it over the top where they're like, I just want this character to be just so unbalanced. Like, just make it crazy where there's 1,000 hit combos and your health barely went halfway. And
or
like,
a comeback mechanic where as you're about to lose, you get all your health back in a full super meter.
yeah, where there's
Shit.
it's making fun of fighting games today, but
Yeah.
it would be a shit ton of fun. Like, they just need to do that. And I love Clay. I have Clay Fighters for my arcade machine actually, and on my N64.
Who was your
So,
main? Who was your main in Clay Fighter?
For Clay Fighter 63, I had a couple. I like the Asian dude, what was his name, Kung Pao or something?
Poo poo platter.
Poo Poo Plaza. When
I was
little-
all about the blob.
the blob. I hate the blob. He's like,
Blob.
I'm a human being.
What was that?
But
Taffy
Mr.
guy?
Taffy
Yeah,
and Blue
Mr.
Suede
Taffy.
Goo.
My business was a blue suede goo.
Do you remember the Santa Claus, the big ass sumo Santa?
Yeah, Sumo Santa.
Bad
Dude,
Mr.
they made some
Frosty.
funny characters, and they just made that game so over the top. But I heard they didn't have enough time on it, so they didn't really get to do what they wanted. But and then they came out with like Clay Fighters Sculptor's Cut, and that game's like so rare. Like it was only Blockbuster, and it's like worth hella money now.
Never
Slips,
played
did
it.
you ever know about the Blob being broken in part 1?
He was broke?
Was
Like,
he? I don't
remember
know.
the move where he turned into a buzzsaw?
Yeah.
I remember the
Blob?
move where he turned into a boot and he just went up and
Yeah.
down. And like it was like doing like Chun-Li's like, from ST, like her jump
Yeah.
straight up short, but it was like did roundhouse type damage and it couldn't be beat.
Well, the buzzsaw on block did more chip damage and was totally safe than on hit.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So when they did that, remember they did those blockbuster tournaments?
Yeah.
They had to release a tournament edition to fix that because it was so cheap.
Wow.
Oh